Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here, returning to you again tonight for this next review. This is going to be an album review for the Scripts new record, Satellites, that came out on August 16th. I didn't get a chance to review it, but this was something I planned on reviewing around that time. But for now, I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the 12 tracks of a 36-minute record and let you know my thoughts on this new Script record, the Script, Satellites. I presume their 6th or 7th studio album. I'm not sure how many albums, but let me know in the comment section below, because I know they've made a bit of albums, but still. Let's dive into this album review. Now, basically, with what I listened to, it starts with the opening track, Both Ways, and this was like a tribute record to their late band member that passed away in 2023, which I'm sorry that happened to you guys. I know loss is a terrible thing, and grieving over it is not an easy thing to go through each day. But from what I gathered with Both Ways, I think this track was kind of not my favorite. It was like the song didn't really strike a landing with me, to be honest. And I was slightly disappointed with this one, so 2.75 out of 5. It's just the way Danny was singing it. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling for this track. It was kind of a disappointment. Unsaid is another one that I was kind of disappointed with too. It's sadly a flop. It's just, I know they're trying to make a record that's supposed to be a tribute record and trying to pay homage to their late band member, and also trying to bring new life into this record, like evolve their sound in a way. And some songs it does work, some songs it doesn't. But pretty much 2.75 out of 5 for Unsaid. I just wasn't feeling for this one either. Home is Where the Hurt is kind of cringy. The way Danny's singing the opening songs for this record, the first 6 songs are not very good. Or at least 7 songs are not very good, but still, 2.75 out of 5 for Home is Where the Hurt is. I just didn't like the melody, and just the way Danny was singing this track. It just made me cringe a bit. So then we get to At Your Feet, which was one of the singles, along with Both Ways. That was a single too, but still, At Your Feet was just kind of dull of a track. It just didn't have anything interesting to intrigue me of a listen. But it's the way Danny was singing this track from time to time. There's good points, and then there's very weak points. The weak points being the underlying issue with the track. So, pretty much 2.75 out of 5. It kind of was a snooze fest of a song. Gone was disappointing big time. It was probably a little weaker than the first 4 songs. So, 2.5 out of 5. I just wasn't feeling for how this song was structurally sounding. It didn't execute very well. Inside Out, it's talking about depression and politics. The song is not really going anywhere. It's playing it on the safe side. But overall, it's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. It's a letdown. This track is not very good. Then we get to the title track, Satellites, which is kind of meh. It's not a terrible song, but it's bringing the record to an okay point towards tracks 7 through 11. So, I think they're probably the only tracks I'd listen to. So, pretty much 3 out of 5 for Satellites. It's in the middle with me. I think some of the singing's okay from Danny, but it just, structurally, this track is a mixed bag. One thing I got right is an okay track. I think this track played it safe in a good way. because there were some moments with the melody I was kind of digging, but just the way Danny was singing it most of the time, it structurally sounded okay of a listen. So 3.25 out of 5. Falling, Flying is an average track. I actually do dig the melody with this track. It keeps you in the loop and makes you interested of a listen. So the melody is a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's just the way. Excuse me, I gotta pause the video real quick. Sorry about that, guys. I was getting a phone call from my mom, so I apologize for that. But still, 3.5 out of 5 for Falling, Flying. I think this track is average. It's not one of the best tracks, but it does have some cringe moments through this track that feel a little iffy and kind of corny in a way, but it's not a terrible song. 3.5 out of 5. Before You Go is a mediocre track. I think this track did have some good, strong points to it, but there were some playing it safe moments that I think could have been better utilized if this track had more to offer, but this track might be a grower, to be honest. So I might have a different opinion about it later, but other than that, if I were to give it a fair score, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. So it's a decent track. So I didn't hate this song for how it sounded. Then you get Promises, which is probably a good track in its own way. I think this track, as the second to last song for the record, is not a bad song. So it played it safe and in a good way. So this is a 4.5 out of 5. Then we get the closing track, Run, 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 which doesn't really do much to close the record. It's kind of a not good song, in a way. It's not a good song. It's too cringy. It's too childish of a track. The lyrics play it safe, and just the way Danny is singing the track sounds a little cringy with how his vocals are sounding in this track. This song was on points of cringe. So 2.75 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, do I really hate this script record? No. But it is a bad record. I don't like this record. I think this record played it too safe and not in a good way. But I'll at least give it props where it's due. Tracks 7 through 11 are not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible. I think Promises is probably the highlight for this album. Falling, Flying, and Before You Go are probably highlights too. But Satellites and One Thing I Got Right are meh to okay tracks. The rest of the record kind of falls flat. And I know this is meant to be a tribute record for their late band member that passed away in 2023. And also an evolved sound of theirs to move on with, like, new future projects for the band itself, to see what their sound can elevate to and how they grow as a band. But overall, I think this record kind of was not good. This is kind of like generic stuff that I've heard and listened to from other bands that have played it safe with their music and not in a good way. So pretty much if I were to give the Scripts new record a score, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's kind of a letdown. It's not one of the worst records of the year, but it is going to be on the worst albums of 2024 by the end of the year, unfortunately. It's a shame because I was hoping this wouldn't suck. And I felt a lot of disappointment with this record, unfortunately. And pretty much, I think vocally, Danny had some moments where he was trying in like the second half of the record, but it just substance-wise and execution-wise with his vocal range, there were some cringy moments where his vocals didn't match with the track. It sounded like cringy. it just didn't work. It didn't flow. It didn't structure well. It just made it all cluttery and like, eh, just eh. But overall, 5 out of 10 for the Scripps New Record Satellites. I'll give it credit where it's due. It tried, but it didn't succeed, in my opinion. But keep in mind, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with me on this, that's perfectly fine. Everyone has a right to their own opinion. And hopefully you enjoyed this album review tonight. And thanks for watching.